So what's going on? This has been an absolutely crazy past couple days, has it not been? So if you haven't heard, because you've probably been living under a rock or something like that, you know, ScopeNet, they made a little bit of a big mistake here. So last week, I'll read it to you. A quick recap. Last weekend, we made a mistake with the valuable lessons login calendar, which granted an incorrect amount of Orange Catalyst Orb fragments, giving some players 3,000 orbs. What a huge mistake. How do you make a mistake? Instead of giving fragments, you actually give out 3,000 orbs. So you guys have probably seen it. Some crazy things happen. People had like 50,000 health catalysts, 50,000 SBCs, and 12,000 health catalysts and resistance catalysts, whatever. It was absolutely insane. So what we were trying to figure out from Scopely is, what are you going to do to rectify and to fix the situation? So they actually came up with their blog post today, and that's what we're going to be going over. Did they do a good job? And what does this mean for us moving forward? Isn't actually a rollback? Let's find out and discuss a little bit more on the other side. Alright, so before we dive into the entire post, it's worth mentioning that this has been kind of a series of mess ups and things that they haven't really been doing well over the past few months, right? I don't like to pour sand and pour sand in somebody's wound, but in reality, they've done a few things that have been upsetting. The chimichangas with the mini uniques and the milestone orbs, the X23 blitz, where people were thrown into beginner shards, and I don't think that they've actually fixed that issue as of yet. And the entire whole Emma Frost thing, ultimately too as well, they've kind of left us in a little bit of a place here where our confidence is not really fully invested or high into them, right? But let's go into the blog post and let's see how they do, and let's see what this could ultimately mean. So the problem with the orb was fixed approximately 3 hours after it went live, but not before several thousands of players, mostly in the time zone of UTC +8, +9, +10, were able to claim the orbs. Now, in continuing our policy of reviewing problems individually, the dev team has determined that the players that receive the incorrect number of orbs cannot keep them or their contents, as it would create an inequitable advantage within the community. Therefore, we need to issue a correction of gear progress on the affected accounts to a state before they claim the orbs. The team is currently working on the technical aspects of this, and the correction is expected to go into effect sometime this week, and will likely require server downtime of 2 to 3 hours, which is pretty big. After the correction goes into effect, we'll be sending out 2 forms of compensation. To the players directly affected by the correction, you receive a compensation package for the resources and the time invested, as well as the inconvenience we've caused. To all other players, a compensation package to alleviate the competitive advantage that other players gain between the time of the bug went live and the corrections, and the general inconvenience that this issue has caused you as well. This is a complicated issue that will be carried out in several phases, and we'll continue to keep you updated on the status of this issue all the way through the completion. We understand that corrections like this are extremely frustrating, and they're not something we take lightly. However, the severity of our mistake is such that we can't let affected players keep their progress, nor can we make the incorrect amounts available to everyone. We greatly appreciate your patience while we work on this. All right, so I'm not one to just toot anybody's horn, but in my personal opinion, this was the best possible outcome that we could have expected. A lot of us wanted things to be rolled back to where, they were completely eradicated with, or getting rid of all the extra materials that they received. We were also wondering if they were going to roll back the other players that did not get the orbs. So based on what we've seen so far here and what they've mentioned, it's only going to really affect the players that actually had the orbs and then opened the orbs and then used the said orbs based on the information that we're giving here, right? So The players that receive the incorrect number of orbs cannot keep them, so their contents it will create, blah blah blah. Therefore, we need to issue a correction on the gear progress of the affected accounts. So not if you didn't get them, the affected accounts to a state before they claimed the orbs. I think that this is good because there was a lot of uproar and people who are threatening to quit this game if they have not fixed this issue. So I think them actually going through and actually saying, okay, we are going to then not a rollback, because I think a lot of people were saying rollbacks ultimately would have affected the entire player base, right? But in this situation, we're only actually really affecting the players that actually got this extra compensation. Only them are going to be affected, and only their accounts are essentially going to be rolled back or reverted, if we want to use kind of a better term, put back, whatever, right? Unclick the button, whatever it is that we want to call it. So essentially, if they got those extra orbs, which some people got 50,000, SBCs, and crafted other resistance catalysts and orange other catalysts or whatever, they're essentially going to take those accounts. They're going to be looking into the accounts. They're going to take those accounts and they're going to remove those extra pieces that you got from those 3,000 orbs, and they're going to revert back your account to where it was prior to that, which is kind of a big thing for them to do. They said it's going to be done in several phases. I think this is probably going to be, I would say, easily about, they said 2 to 3 hours of downtime. Like, realistically, this is probably going to take them at least a week for them to get done, because you have to look into those players' accounts. They have, not only did they use the health catalyst, or not the health catalyst, but all the catalysts that they were given, they were also using gold. They were also their own gold. They were also using other mini uniques too as well, that they used to craft those particular, characters to get them to gear tier 13, to get them to gear tier 14. So realistically, this is going to take some time, and I hope that, as they said down here, that they're going to be carrying this out in several phases, and they're going to keep us updated in regards to how they're doing it. I hope that they actually do stick to their word where that is concerned, because if not, then that could create more frustration. Ultimately, they took 2 or 3 days before they got back to us on a fix being in place. So it would really be important for them to not only, I guess, do it, say that they're going to do it, but then also keep us up to date in regards to how they're doing it and exactly how other people are going to be affected. So that's what my understanding of this is, that they're going to revert back the players who benefited from this. They're going to revert their accounts back to where it was before. So any gold that was spent, you will receive that gold back. Any mini uniques that you spent, you'll receive that information. You'll receive that those sort of pieces back, and then you'll also, of course, be essentially giving back the extra gear, the extra pieces that you also use to as well. So that's my understanding of it. And then this is the portion that I think is even bigger than this. So to the players directly affected by the correction, you'll receive a compensation package for the resources and time invested, as well as the inconvenience we've caused. I think that it's actually right that for the people who did actually benefit from this, that they're also going to receive compensation as well, because ultimately, when you think about it, you gave them something and then now you're going to take it back from them. There is a little bit of an inconvenience, right? If you receive something that's free, what the hell are you going to do? Not use it? So I do think that them receiving some sort of compensation is actually warranted, and especially for the inconvenience too as well. I think it's relatively warranted also. But the other portion of this that I think we all ought to pay attention to is that to the other players, a compensation package to alleviate the competitive advantage that other players gained between the time of the bug went live and the corrections and the general inconvenience that the issue has caused you as well. So I would say, when you're thinking about what competitive advantage that those players get, Dark Dimension 3 was mentioned. Yes, they were able to go into Dark Dimension 3 and probably be able to complete a few more nodes. But for you, the competitive disadvantage was that you probably weren't able to do as good in War. You probably dropped 50 spots, 100 spots, whatever the case is in Arena. You also probably were affected in War because now you're facing all of these Gear Tier 14 Black Order teams or Marauders teams or whatever, right? Same thing with raids. Other players were able to finish their raids a little bit quicker than you were. Maybe that affected rankings a little bit. Maybe that's affect rankings a little bit. You don't necessarily know, but I do think that it definitely did create a competitive disadvantage to those who did not get it. And obviously, just being able to have those pieces, and them having those pieces, and then you not having those pieces as well, I think also is a considerable factor. So listen, I am actually somewhat happy with what they have done here. I think that it's good. I think that they have done rather well in making sure that they are, at least by wording, that they are going to fix this, and they're telling us how they're going to fix it. My hope is that they actually do this in the right way, and that things are done effectively and with great wisdom. But unfortunately, we know that things like this have happened before, and things have been fixed, in a good way, but then also created more issues. What I want to know is, how are they going to fix issues like this moving forward so that things like this don't happen again? That for me is something that I would like to know as a player that plays this game, and I'm sure that you would too. How are they going to rectify this so that this doesn't happen again? In my opinion, they need to also come out and give us some sort of vote of confidence where that is concerned also. But listen, guys, let me know what you're thinking. Obviously, this is a quick rundown. I'm reacting to this, today as I've received it. What are your thoughts? How did this affect you? How do you feel about it? What do you think that they should do? Do you think that they're going to be doing enough? Or do you think that there's something else that they should be doing to add to this tool as well? Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. But of course, once again, really appreciate the heck out of you guys. Thank you guys so much, and be blessed and be safe.